Beautiful. Welcome, Jet, to Delicately Wild. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, thanks. And you?
Good, good. It's really, really hot here in Europe. I'm not sure what South Africa is like at the moment.
It's a bit warm, but we have a bit of a storm coming tomorrow, so they've opened a lot of the dams and the rivers have gotten like quite wild.
Oh, wow. Wow. So a
Yeah,
lot of water.
a lot of water. Yeah, today's actually a sunny break. I
Okay.
think there's like 3 rainy days before
Okay.
rain tomorrow.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I heard actually there's quite some stormy weather, the Cape of Good, or the what is it?
Cape of Good
Cape,
Hope.
the Cape of Good Hope, but it's the Cape of Storms or something like that as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is our podcast, Delicately Wild. To anybody that is watching, I have my guest with me who is Jet. Jet has been in my field for how many years now?
Oh gosh. I'd say at least a solid five, maybe
Yeah,
six. Yeah.
yeah. I think about 5 years, and it's difficult to kind of pin it down because time is going so quickly, and we're experiencing so much as souls that, for example's sake, I've traveled so much this year and it doesn't even register cognitively that I have moved through this amount of countries in this amount of time. It doesn't. So 5 Earth years, according to the linear calendar. Um, here on Delicately Wild, basically, I have got a coaching container that I've created called the AZURITE Temple. And each of the AZURITE Temple participants and souls and pillars of light that are joining have an opportunity to have this interview. So this is part of that process. And this interview is really just about allowing you guys out there to, I guess, get in touch with other people's stories of awakening and to hear other people's stories of their expansion experience, their awakening experience, their human experience, their spiritual experience, without needing to have some great big banner, some great big label. It's just Jet and B. So without further ado, I think a really good place to start, many of the people that I have in the container, not all of them, but many of them I do know, and they have joined Mushroom Ceremony with me, and that's kind of the first place that they have met me or all aspects of me or some parts of me. So I guess this is always a good place to start, Jets, and to kind of just maybe drop into your your first mushroom experience, or the leading up to that, because of course this conversation is about our consciousness expansion. What led you there, so
So basically, what led me there was actually a horrible brownie experience with weed, where it's the horrible concoction of the worst things that you could do to create the worst scenarios. And um, I was super into fitness and everything then, and I had a Apple Watch on my wrist. And I started noticing that my heart rate was beating way too fast, and I became conscious of that. And then I looked at my heart rate and it was going 160 whilst I was sitting down. And I'm like, cool, that's not cool. And then I started becoming too conscious of my breath. And I was trying to like force myself to breathe at the rate you're supposed to be breathing when your heart rate's at 160.
okay.
And that was just making things even worse.
So in essence, you were hyperventilating.
Yes.
Okay. You'd gone
And
into
then
holotropic breath work, basically.
pretty much.
Okay.
And then I started freaking out, and we had to call some friends over to like calm us all down. And then this actually unlocked a childhood memory of where I had become conscious of my breath, and then I was afraid of forgetting how to breathe.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that lasted for a few months where I would remember that fear and I would start breathing for myself. And the only way I could calm myself down at night was going for night drives to like zone out in a sense. And then I tried to go for hypnotherapy, didn't work. I was like, I'm just running away from this thing. And then my mate Justin, I think he just had a ceremony with you or something, and he recommended to just dive in deep because I'd never done mushrooms. And I remember talking with you, and I'm like, I've never done mushrooms before. Like, what should I do? How should I mentally like prepare myself? And then you said either do nothing with regards to taking it to see what it does, or take like 0.2 just to like gauge a little bit of like the train tracks of how the experience could go. Just to like feel like the slightest essence of what it is. I'm
As
like,
in the microdose, I suggested the
yeah, yeah,
microdosing to you. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, let's just go in naked and see what happens whilst I'm having this fear of mine. And then I remember it being like the wildest ride ever. And it was just like, I'm insane for taking these mushrooms whilst having this fear of like forgetting how to breathe. And I remember breathing so heavily and my body started twitching and I was like jerking a lot. And I remember you coming over to me like very gently and very like motherly and being like, is everything okay? Um, we need you to stop moving like this. It's affecting everyone. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. Because I was like, then like I started breathing fine, but I was moving that energy into jerking my body.
Mm,
It's like trying to like move that fear, but in a different way, and it was
mm,
still not helping. Because I could feel my joints were aching and everything, so it wasn't beneficial in any regard. Um, but I remember then, I think after that, or slightly before, I'd forgotten who I was and I'd forgotten my name. And I was like, this is cool. Let's panic a bit more. um, and there was like almost like some sort of god had come over. I don't remember who, I didn't recognize him. But definitely a masculine figure. And he's like, you're okay, everything's fine, and you've helped create the universe. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've helped create the universe, everything's fine. I'm just a human, like experiencing this crazy mushroom journey ride. And I just remember like trying to almost escape it sometimes by opening my eyes. I'm like, you're so stupid. Like, that's not going to help anything because now the windows are doing this and the curtains are doing this. And I'm like, oh boy, like, this is not helping. And I remember the ceiling disappearing. And I could see the stars through the ceiling. I'm like, that's cool, that's cool. And then I go like, cool, not cool. Like,
yeah, just
I would like
waves.
spiral. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I would be like, no, I remember I was scared of breathing again. And then I would go through this one memory of like school. And this memory was in this like room. And I'd walk through the room and it almost turned into a video game. And I would walk into the room and I would have to like correct the memory in a way. And then I would like walk through the wall into another room of a memory. And then once I'd corrected that memory, I'd like fall into the next room and then go into another room. But if I hadn't corrected that memory, I would start all the way from the beginning
Oh,
and
wow.
to like go through all the memories again. So that was interesting and cool. And it made me feel almost like a lot better to almost like somehow reprogram those memories that you have.
Mm,
I'm trying to remember if anything else happened. I think that's like the most like, oh, and then I also remember needing the bathroom. And we were in that one, not the main little den that usually happens. We were in this like where you had to walk upstairs.
yes.
And it was so I'm the worst with balance in
Oh, was
general.
this in the first temple?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this was
yeah,
before,
yeah,
well, the first space. This was before the temple had been
yeah, yeah, yeah.
completed. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay.
But then I was like standing at the top of the stairs and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
Uh,
this.
and then I decided to sit down and I was bum shuffling next to the candles and everyone just started laughing at me. And it was like we all just started laughing. And then I went to the bathroom and like and I remember you saying, don't look at yourself in the mirror. And what I do, I look at myself. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. I'm like, this isn't actually too bad. I'm like, I actually need to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and I managed to like slowly make my way back up the stairs. But I also remember being like, oh my God, the candles, I'm going to set myself on fire or something. So it's like overtly paranoid of the candles. But I also remember now, as soon as it started, I remember there was a candle in the middle of the room and it like completely just like disintegrated into the chakra colors. And it like popped into all the colors and was pretty cool. And then that also like calmed me down because I was quite like nervous. So it was quite nice to just have that like nice image in my head of the candle just like stacked on itself.
And then you came back how many years
Yeah.
later?
I think maybe a year and a half, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good timeline. That's a good
Yeah, yeah,
timeline.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I gave you the full dose first time and then dropped it
Yes.
afterwards, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously I've had many, many clients come through the process, but if I remember correctly, it was like this essence of childhood wonder slightly merged with a little bit of Mad Hatter's madness.
Totally, totally, totally.
Yeah, so
Totally.
it wasn't like full paranoia, it wasn't full fear space, but
No, no, no.
it was childhood fascination with a bit of Mad Hatters, like just a
Totally,
little
totally.
bit, just a
Yeah.
touch of crazy. Yeah,
Spice. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and that's why the second time around I was like, cool, let's lower your dose, let's lower. But so you've done 3 with me now, right? Or is it
yeah. I
4?
think three or
3.
four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. What is the greatest thing you've taken from, well, first of all, let's chat about your breathing thing, because that would have been the
Yeah.
original thing that you came for.
Yeah. It did. I would say it like completely put everything into perspective of like if I just went through all of that, like I can most definitely not drop the fear, but not over. I have a very big problem with overthinking. Um, and I thought actually, because ever since I had come to you, it was still an issue, that breathing fear. And only the most recent one where I would think of that fear, I was okay with having that thought and not panicking.
Mm,
Um, so it definitely was like quite a crux to have, because even like in the early days of remembering that fear, I would watch like a horror with my friends and I would like have to leave because it would make me so anxious and then like it would affect my breathing, all this stuff.
mm, mm.
So it definitely did help and again put things into perspective. But I will tell you something funny. The way that I mentally prepared for my second trip with you was that I think that was with my brother. We both decided to go skydiving the day before the ceremony.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
if we can jump out of a plane, we can take mushrooms.
I
And
like
then,
that. I don't
yeah,
feel like I remember hearing that. But again, there's a lot
no,
of
yeah, yeah,
information. That's really cool. Well
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, if you can
'Cause
jump
that
out of
also
a
like
plane.
made me breathy and antsy and like helped me calm down. Almost the
Yeah,
same like adrenaline rush sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. To be honest, Jet, like based on your first one, I am super proud, somewhat shocked, and very grateful that you have returned to, to come and continue to do the work. And each time you come in, I can see through your forms that there's this level of expansion that is happening in your reality and in your consciousness, and that you're super and hyper tuned in. So I guess like at this point we've spoken about like why you came, the breathing thing, which was from a trauma, the body shaking, which would have been some trauma release, which is difficult to manage in a group space. But now, as you know, through the ones that you've done with me recently, we have the breath work. So I guess we could chat about the
Yes.
breath work and say, I'd love your perspective on how that helps, or again, I'm not going to superimpose breath work before the ceremony. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it definitely like most definitely helped. It was very much
Have you done it
almost like,
twice with me now or just
I
once?
think twice with the breath work now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like almost like dipping your toe into the pool and like, I don't know, like, because you also get that high
Mm.
um with all the oxygen that goes to your head. So you also then like semi experience like another version of portaling, but in a different essence. And then it also again like triggered that breathing fear of mine. And it helped me like not dissociate in a way, but like get into, don't know the word, but just like,
Mastery.
yeah, there you go. I would say that because I would find a rhythm and I'm like, okay, this is okay. This is not scary. Like, this is fine. And then we would do like, I think the tantrum stuff was in the breathing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So then we would have those breaks and we'd like scream and tantrum, do all these things. And it was very nice to just have the balance of that whilst also the breath work because
Mm.
I would just like put my mind at ease and yeah, I was just I would notice that I wasn't breathing correctly, and then again, I would overthink about it because I breathe very much with my chest and not with my belly. I'm
Mm.
still trying to figure that out. um, but we're
I
getting
mean,
there.
it's kind of a perfectionist energy, right? Breathing
Yeah.
from that chest, and it's this big heart that's like, I'm here, I'm beating for everybody, like I'm feeling so much. And it's
Mm,
interesting because it's like your breath pattern is showing that, but your fear of actually wanting to breathe, it's this interesting fight between the body and the soul. It kind of
yeah.
feels,
Mm,
which I have no doubts is based on some past trauma as well, not only in this
yeah.
incarnation, but yeah, you seem to be returning. You are constantly doing the work. And like I
Mm,
say, through your forms that you fill out, I can see a beautiful shift. So I guess let's chat about the forms. I don't, like what about that process do you enjoy? Like, because I like my my T's crossed and my I's dotted, like, but
yeah.
I love receiving them because I can really like
Mm,
tune into where someone's at with their belief systems. And
yeah.
yeah, I think it's powerful. So like if you'd like to share anything around
No,
that.
totally. I dig the forms like so much because I still struggle with like structure and even like journaling day to day, I struggle with like what to journal. So the forms are very specific and very like directed. And I was very grateful for basically like, this is what you need to like fill out. And like, this is what I need to know about you. And this is your belief systems. Like, and like, I like the question of what's the craziest conspiracy theory you believe in.
Well,
That was very,
it's actually what's your most outlandish belief system?
okay, okay.
Okay, so share it with us.
Um, well, gosh. Most probably the whole Earth being run by reptilians and everything's just a giant facade and a playground for everyone to figure their the human out and their soul out, and to actually just believe and know that you are capable of what you need to believe in, what you want to believe in. Um, and that not everything has to be this doom and gloom that these reptilians are projecting onto the earth. Like we do have a sense of control, and that you don't need to conform to the university, the work, the 9 to 5. You can reinvent yourself and follow your passions if you just have that faith in yourself.
Yes, beautiful. So, I mean, based on that statement and your said belief system, would you then agree that you are a creator being?
Totally.
Okay, and I like to ask this question sometimes. It's like, we'll only go further into this in the Azurite Temple, but if we were to say the statements, I am God, I am sovereign, I am free, how much of that statement resonates with you? And do you have any issues with any parts of that reclamation statement?
I resonate with it very much and entirely. It does get a little tricky because I'm studying astrology at the moment. So,
Okay, beautiful.
and then it's that whole story of how much of that is destiny and how much of that is under your control.
Mm,
So it's quite an interesting dynamic of like what is meant to be and what is not meant to be, and like, well, how are these planet placements there for a reason? And interesting how things like work out in certain ways. But I do still believe you have freedom of choice and freedom to fight against these destined situations that are possibly out there for you.
mm,
All about how like creative you can be and
mm,
how much again you just believe in yourself, and don't fall into your, I wouldn't say like your cruxes, but just like old habits, I would
mm.
say. Try
Yeah,
and break.
your limiting
Yeah.
belief systems. Yeah, it's interesting you use the word or you use the sentence like it feels like there's many creative ways to get out of or to use what you see and read as the map to maybe embark on another
Loads.
journey, right? If I'm understanding you correctly. But then you also use the word fight. And I can't go back enough now. So it was interesting that you use that word fight and creative at the same time. But and I think that's the cognitive dissonance we go through of like, are we fighting something? Do we need to fight something? Are we
Mm-hmm.
fighting our soul contract? And most of us are. We're in conflict,
Yeah.
or we're in cognitive dissonance, or yeah, it's an uphill struggle. It's a suffering. It's painful. It's fucking old, right? It's old. This pain and
Totally.
suffering is old. But in the same sentence, you used all we need is creativity. And I think that that statement of creativity really speaks to I am God, I am sovereign, I am free, because the creativity is about creation. And when we are diving into quantum aspects of our reality, whether we are reading the maps or not. So let's say one of the maps is astrology, another is philosophies, another is religion, another is politics, another is quantum physics, and another is ascension teachings. We can begin to look at these maps and go, okay, this is what it's saying. Right now, here comes in the statements, I am God, I am sovereign, I am free. And we can go, well, this map is saying that this is the next juncture. If that juncture is based on a past that is required for me to learn a lesson, and so on and so forth, like we're like, okay, cool. Well, I've seen the lesson before I've needed to experience the lesson. Therefore, I've hacked the program, because this is where I'm at the moment. I'm just like, this whole thing is a simulation.
Yeah, yeah,
And once you crack the code, you can jump into the next creator world and start creating from there, right? So yeah, I don't know if you've moved into simulation theory within your own
totally.
thought space. I'd be
Yeah.
love you to share.
Yeah, I remember reading a slight like there's an article actually like they these scientists genuinely won like a Nobel Prize for proving that this is a simulation. And I'm like, how has this not been like worldwide?
Publicized, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, it's just very interesting. I remember reading it like in another book for the first time before I was having a therapy session. And I was like, you get those like mind blow or like the tingles when you read something that resonates with you. You watch something on TV, like a movie or TV or something. And as I was reading that, I literally like had my highlighter and I was like, wow, right next to the sentence. I'm like, I'm just like an actor that chose this character in this video game, and I don't have to be shy all the time, or I don't need to like be scared of driving on the road because I saw a car accident and that wasn't even related to me. I
Mm.
can just like bypass all of that and know that I'm going to be safe, or I don't have to be scared to talk to someone. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I could maybe stutter or fumble like on a word and just have a laugh and then
Yeah,
carry on. Like,
yeah.
I create so much nonsense in my mind because of past things, because of this now awakened actor mode. It's been very helpful.
I like that. The awakened actor. That's a interesting archetype.
Um,
The awakened actor. How would you describe the awakened actor?
oh gosh. Um, I would say definitely not really so much bothered with, I would say, taking things on personally, or
Mm,
just knowing that people are coming from a hurt space or another, like angry space or a sad space or whatever emotion, and knowing that how you interpret it is how it's going to affect your day.
mm,
And I remember reading something else where I think it was in the same book, where it's like if you invested $100,000 in the bank and someone like scammed you out of $10, would you then throw all that money away because someone took those $10, and then it converted that to like a day's worth of minutes or something?
mm.
And then I was like, okay, that's cool, putting that into perspective of like, would you throw your whole day away because someone hooted at you, or like
Yeah.
decided to like catcall you in the street, or I don't
Mm,
know, just do something arbitrary.
mm.
And it's been an ongoing struggle because I am a very sensitive person,
Yeah.
and I do like snap back into like actor mentality. Um, because I'm still learning how to deal with emotions and all these things, and
Yeah.
like how do you emote, and am I too robotic? And I've always been called a robot that is learning like how to emote ever since like high school.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah.
I didn't know
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I know how to have empathy, and I know how to like say I'm sorry, and how are you doing today? Like I'm sorry you're sad, but it's like then I have these steps in my mind, like, do I give this person a hug, or do I give them a love and Like, what's the protocol? So I'm very like a very thinky person, and emotions are something very new to me over the past few years of, especially with losing my parents at a young age. I was very dissociated.
Mm,
I was also very angry, and like angry was my default setting all the time. So yeah, very sensitive. So it's either like I have all my emotions and then I forget that I am in the simulation, or I am the robot that is in the simulation. So I'm still finding that like middle ground.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for your share. Yeah, thank you for your share. Um, yeah, the what did you say? The awakened actor. I think it's
Yeah.
nice how I would describe it is one that is aware that there are many identities worn, so
But
many stages to act upon, but wise enough to know that they are still acting
yes,
in,
yes.
yeah, in whichever whatever is the new scene. And I feel as our consciousness expands, we just play in a bigger on a bigger stage, right? So it's like um once we're playing in this quantum space, like really really like getting nitty gritty with what we say and therefore what we do. What we
Mm,
say is a belief system, and therefore how we create through that belief system. And really, really getting like sticky,
yes.
finicky, surgical with how we act upon that stage, right? And of course, this whole entire description of the awakened actor archetype is also complete bullshit, because once we expand further into our consciousness, there is actually less and less time for acting, less and less space for acting. The levels of integrity of which we have to work within the stage allows for nothing more than absolute authenticity, which would be the opposite to acting, right? Yet, because we're still in somewhat, well, not somewhat, we are still in a polarity experience, it is both. So yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I like that, the awakened actor. Cool. What else in terms of, yeah, I guess, like, what sits close to your heart in terms of this simulation, like, and that which would sit close to our hearts is generally something that may bring up fear for us, or it may bring up hope. I mean, who am I to superimpose? It may bring up hope. So let me expand that into either fear or hope. In terms of your state of consciousness now, within the holographic field that we are in the now moment, through this creation story, what is it within the depth of your cellular being, your soul, that is like a hot topic for you?
I would say two. The one would be, it's very like materialistic at the moment. It's like the paranoia of this whole like financial system crashing and like da 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 da. And like, what do I do with the money that I've inherited? And like trying to find a home slash like small holding to create a little domain that I just like bring Kelly and my animals and like start farming and stuff. And then the other one is just having that faith and belief that once I do finish studying astrology, that I can actually like work with people and have clients. Because I do have this like mindset of, again, being that shy character and like socially awkward, but I know I can like talk to people. So it's just like that devil in your head. It's just like
So the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have any idea how, I mean, let's ask you, what is your feeling towards the AZURITE temple frequency at this point in time?
I would say like excitedly nervous.
Okay, and so that you are describing your current feeling, right?
Yeah.
What is the collective feeling of the container that you can feel at the moment?
Feels very fiery, very almost like, I wouldn't say warlike, but almost like a tribe that's like hustling together, and like we're building like shields and like making our spears and like making sure that like base is safe, and we're getting ready to hustle towards something, but I don't know like what that is.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. I kind of forget why I asked that. I previously asked you what was close to your heart. You mentioned the astrology, imposter syndrome, right? So you just, I asked you to describe that because I kind of want to share a story about imposter syndrome. Like, so yes, there is this beautiful energy creating and buzzing, and I'm used to holding space, but this is the first time I'm stepping into this kind of work, which I really think is the role of the elder, where my frequency becomes the medicine, our collective frequency becomes the medicine, and where we really begin to tune into quantum technologies that we have access to, that we have always had availability to, beyond fanciful psychospiritual thinking and without plant medicine, right? To crutch yourself onto and be like, oh, well, I'm a magical shaman because I'm able to hold a very good space, but actually the mushrooms do all the work, right? I'm not saying that I don't have strength, but to step into this role is something different. Also, I'm used to holding space for a 24-hour period. We're now holding a container of over 20 people for 7 months. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, you know. Yet it's just happening. It's like, it's just happening. It's moving through me for us. It's not about me. And yeah, there is a bit of imposter syndrome happening from my side as well, to be authentically honest on our Delicately Wild podcast here. Yeah, so, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. The financial systems and your wish, want, need, and desire to use your inheritance wisely. I mean, it feels like and sounds like you already know what to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So would you say that you're in a resistance as to taking a step forward with regards to that, or?
There's a possibility.
Because I mean, unlike many others, you happen to have that inheritance.
Yes,
So
yes,
this is
exactly.
very interesting. So
yeah, I'm trying to wait for that perfect place. I have a few like saved, but it's also again, I think just that childhood, um, what's that word? Like passed on like wounding of
generational.
there we go. Um, of not having enough money and like, oh, is this like a wise decision or like I remember my mom having to tell me to like drop hobbies, extramurals because we couldn't afford it at the time. So it's just like that sort of, I guess, possibility playing through now.
Mm.
Thanks for the thoughts.
I mean, one of the things we're going to dive, I mean, it's not a deep dive, it's not going to be a deep dive in the AZURITE Temple, but is with regards to sovereign's law. I don't know if you've ever looked into any of that, because essentially for me, if again, we are on this quest within what we have both ascribed as the simulation, right? On a planet that we chose. I don't know if you would agree with that. So we chose to be here, right? So there's one thing you mentioned was we have free choice, we have free will, right? And this I think is the most powerful tool that we have in our arsenal within this simulation, right? So it's like, for me, obviously, you know that I'm living a nomadic life, have been now for over a year, and it comes with its pros and cons. There are parts of me that want to ground and stay in one place and really connect with tribe, maybe more than anything. I'm just tired. I don't know. But then there's this other part of me that's like, the world is mine to see, to experience, to travel, to see this waterfall, to climb this mountain, to go to this festival, to eat this food, whatever it is that I wish, want, and desire can and will happen in my reality, right? Hold on, I went on a very creative tangent there. You're welcome to link me back in anytime.
We're talking about possibly finding a home or a farmstead.
Yeah. And I was kind of alluding to the fact that you have the finances and everything is all crumbling at the moment. The sovereign's way. And so for me, I'm like, within my belief system, I'm very much in the space of like, I do not wish to pay to be on the planet that I chose, that I know has all the abundance in terms of resources to fulfill me, all my needs, wants, desires, and requirements. You know, why should we be paying for these things? So my point with regards to bringing up the sovereign's way is there are universal laws, and this has got to do with maritime law as well, universal laws that, and I think this is like about land reclamation, where, you know, like Bill Gates is buying up all the land and all the rivers and all the mountains and all the things. Bless his soul for the role that he plays in this simulation. But yeah, like when and how do we reclaim land without needing to actually purchase and put ourselves in debt or in a financial pickle, to own something that actually, if we say, actually, you know what, dear government or dear whoever, dear institution, I would like to be custodian of this land. I'm going to be custodian of this land. You give me this many hectares and I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. It's going to look after 50 people and cool. We're going to be here for the next 50 years. Thank you very much. I mean, surely this is like an easy and fabulous route to go to work. And these are the inversions that we are correcting. This is the reclamation statements that we are making with regards to being sovereign on this planet, and reclaiming that which is our human families. You know, so while we are in the AZURITE Temple, I'm going to guide you guys to some beautiful coursework with regards to the Sovereign's Way. And anyone that's listening, you can just type in the Sovereign's Way. It's Greg Paul and another guy. We're all practicing mastery in something. There is a deep part of me that gets kind of like into failure mode or defeat mode, where I'm like, actually, how we change anything in our 3D reality is, yes, from the quantum blueprint, but also from the ground up is through the legal system, or through reclaiming the legal system into the natural laws and rehabilitating, restabilizing, reclaiming that which is ours. And there's this part of me that feels like such a failure because I don't have time to go into that. My soul's blueprint is very much about ascension mechanics and things like that. And yet I know deep within me that having access to the understanding of these laws is a gateway to freedom that is very practical, logical, within our reality, and we can do. Because if you go to a court of law and actually go through the steps correctly, you will win your case. It's just that we've forgotten what our rights are. So, you know, I'll share those details with you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anything else in terms of, consciousness expansion, the agenda, belief systems that you have any questions about or want to make statements about? Please go ahead.
I don't really have many thoughts, but I do think we still have like a whiles away to go. Especially with like, in terms of, I think everything still is like needing to crumble, and we still haven't even gotten to that like rebuilding stage. But it is interesting with the planets moving along and Pluto going back into Aquarius, and I think Uranus is moving into a new zodiac sign in the next few years as well. And that has also led to a lot of revolutions in the past. So I would say it's quite an exciting time to be here on Earth to see.
It is pretty exciting. I mean, it's fucking terrifying, but it's also...
It is a bit terrifying.
It's
but it
pretty
is
exciting. It's pretty exciting when you're like, wow, all of these ancient stories that we would describe as history or philosophy or gnosis or fantasy,
Exactly.
are kind of coming to the fore and being like, okay, here's a timeline repeating, here's a timeline repeating, here's a timeline
Totally.
repeating. And like, to know that this is no longer a story,
Yeah.
right? It's actually happening in our reality. Like, it's actually happening. Like, again, terrifying, because planet Earth has been a planet enslaved for millions of years. So it's like, which timeline is replaying out here? But like, this is why, like, I've been really thinking about this, like, what is unity consciousness? And within the, it's very easy to make that statement and say, well, of course it's oneness and it's all these things. But again, saying something, believing something, and then acting in accordance with that belief system is a completely different thing. And this is embodiment, right? So it's like, unity consciousness, from my perspective at this point in time in the reality construct, in the creation, is helping each other. It's that fucking simple. Because I think everything's going to dissolve so much, and already is, and so quickly, that it's going to open our hearts, because we're human beings, that we have the emotional body, right? So it's like, we cannot watch others in just destruction and disbelief and suffering around us, and there will be. But those of us who are in awareness, playing that archetype of the aware actor, we can be like, come here, it's okay, this is what's happening, da 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 da, have a sip of water. And so things will no longer be purely ours. We will inevitably end up sharing, where it's like, through the dissolution of all the structures and the chaos that comes with that, comes the unity consciousness. It's a wild way to look at it.
Definitely.
But that's how I see it. I don't know.
No, I dig, like, I like it a lot, and I'm also excited for everyone to just blooming like get along and invite everyone over to do what they need to do on whoever's land and just have fun, just like carefree.
Yeah. What do you feel your strength is on this planet?
Oh goodness. It's a good question. I would say probably a few things popping through.
Good.
I'd say definitely just like being able to trudge through when the times get tough, and being able to like help people like have a good laugh, and being able to just like help everyone put things into perspective, and to almost like make hard moments a bit more lighthearted, and to I don't mind like getting dirty or like having to, I don't know, like build something or do something, like so long as like everyone is like happy, and even if you're not happy, just to like have a good laugh in the moment, or just I don't know, I guess like the jokester, or like the jouster, or whatever that term is, just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a good
And
question.
what is your wish for your creation, or this simulation, or the planet?
Oh, good. I wish.
Because of course, what you say now is being created into the quantum field, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Well, yeah, and definitely that little farm life, definitely planting veggies, and actually even learning how to grow plants and all that stuff. And for the planet, I just, that cliche of just like seeing oceans, and it's like trees growing again to their full capacity, like those huge mythological trees that you imagine seeing, or like those cut down stumps in forests that you see. And just like, I want like all the magic to come back, of like the mythos and the lore of like dragons, and I don't know, like unicorns, and like all that shit that like is on other dimensions. Like I want that shit here.
Yeah.
I want it like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you believe that it'll come?
Oh, totally. I
Cool.
do.
Nice. Do you think it'll come within your lifetime?
I believe so.
Nice, nice. It was super interesting. I was at a festival last week, a German festival. And of course, it was a festival, so consciousness levels are very open, but we can also, within festival space, get very lost in spiritual ego. And they have long summer holidays here in Europe. So it's like, what else do you do other than go hang out for 7 days somewhere? So it's not necessarily that everyone is experiencing creativity in the childlike manner that they could. And so obviously you've done some of my meditations, and I just did a very simple introduction into a light language meditation, of which I obviously worked with the dragon energy and spoke a little bit about it afterwards. I didn't go deep dive like we do, but just a light little tender little splash in the, you know, in the waters there, and just spoke to everyone about, like, you know, where's everyone at, because I'm also just observing the consciousness levels and the resistance and all of this. And the one girl, she was like, I don't understand why you picked a dragon. Like, I mean, it doesn't even exist. It's a mythical creature. Like, well, you could have picked something like from Earth. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can pick something from Earth. Like, what creature would you pick? And she was like, a horse. I was like, great. It's still got the same qualities, right? Like, it's this like fierce, beautiful, big, powerful, wild animal that can gallop into states and spaces of freedom, and expression and freedom. The whole dragon experience was about freedom, like feel yourself fly. But just the mention of that word dragon just completely took her out of creative space into linear again, where she was like, no, dragons do not exist, yeah, you know. And I
That's so
kind of,
interesting.
yeah, and I kind of explained to her, and I said, okay, cool, well, I gave her some questions before to bring her into the point of going, okay, cool, do you believe we're creator beings then? So that which we think we create, that which we think we believe, like in all of this. And she was like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, now let's imagine 50% of the population, that's 4 billion souls on the planet, begin believing in dragons. And they start connecting with their consciousness, with dragon energy, whether through meditation, dream space, sleep space, art, toys, computer games, whatever. And I was like, so if we're creator beings and we're creating this construct, then what happens in that time? Like, could we begin to see dragons everywhere, whether they be in signs, street signs, this? And she was like, yeah, I guess so. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of how this works, right? It's like, and ultimately I was like, be very careful what you create, you know, like, because we are creating it all, like, and by no means do I have the answers, but like, in fact, today I felt very much, again, imposter syndrome of the space of like, fuck, I really am in kindergarten. Like and yet I do believe I have some sort of mastery, but I don't know, man. Like,
I fully trust you and have faith in everything you do.
Thank you,
Don't worry.
Jed. Thank you. All right. I wanted to end with the following. So I know it may seem weird. I know it may push you out of your comfort zone, but you are used to that with me. So of course, I'm going to just ask you to drop into the heart. And the first thing we're going to do is just take 3 breaths together. I will look at you, you will look at me. We're then going to go through the tones of creation. And this is the sounds of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, right? So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la. All right, except we're not singing do, re, mi. We are going to sound the sounds of creation, and the 8th tone of the heart, which is kristala, okay? So it's ka, ra, ya, sa, ta, ha, la, ah. All right, and again, if you're just humming it, that's also okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot. But ultimately, it's just to be in the heart, because as an embodiment teaching, it's like, again, if all of a sudden, bam, something's happening in your reality, It's like your whole breathing.
Yes.
It's like your whole breathing. It's the exact same thing. This is the mastery, right? So karaya sata hala. All right. Again, you're welcome to hum it or just place your hand on your heart. So we'll begin with 3 breaths and then we'll end off our show. Thank you so much, Jed. Once we've done that 3 times, I'm just gonna close the recording. So I want to thank you for coming on to Delicately Wild. I really look forward to having you on and in the AZURITE Temple for the amount of time that we're gonna be together. I think it's wildly delicate and beautiful. So thank you. Awesome. Taking 3 breaths in with me. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Karaya satahala. Karaya satahala. Karaya satahala. Sioro e titiala e kiantana e rore kianja e tielea ara kiata. We are God, we are sovereign, we are free. Thank you.
Thank you.